Borkowski.
Good evening.
Thank you, Alderman Borkowski. Did you want to start out by saying a few words?
I'd be happy to, Dan. Let me first express my gratitude. We've got a wonderful director of our Milwaukee Waterworks, Karen Detmer, and the partnership, Dan, that she's developed with you and your entire Waukesha team. I want to say thank you and congratulations. This is a very exciting project. I know that some of my constituents are going to be inconvenienced, and I'm sorry about that. In a perfect world, we'd never like to do that, but I think the end game, the bottom line, is going to make it well worth it. So happy that we finally have come to this stage, and I look forward to specifically answering any questions from my constituents, but let you know that you have my heartfelt support in this project.
Thank you, Alderman Borkowski. I really appreciate your leadership on this issue, on this project. With this project, I know we're in your, as you said, we're in your aldermanic district, and there's going to be some inconveniences. But I want to thank you for your cooperation also. Without your cooperation, this would not have been possible. So thank you very much for your leadership that you have provided on this, for you and your constituents, or on behalf of your constituents. We really appreciate that. I also couldn't agree with you more about Karen. Karen is a remarkable person. I have tremendous respect for her. She puts out a great product at the waterworks for the city of Milwaukee, and everyone in the city of Waukesha is jealous of your product, and we're looking forward to the day that we'll be able to obtain water for the city of Milwaukee, from the city of Milwaukee, for the residents of the city of Waukesha. So again, thank you to Karen and her staff for their leadership and their cooperation, and Alderman Borkowski, again, thank you for your leadership. That being said, I'm going to move forward with the presenters for tonight. My name is Dan Dukniak. I'm the general manager of the Waukesha Water Utility. I'll be talking about why we're doing this project and why we need a new water supply. Katie Richardson is the program manager for Greeley and Hanson, and she'll be talking about the route and the communications that you can expect from our team. And then Jeff Champion is the construction manager for Black and Veatch, and he is the boots on the ground, as they say, out in the field. He knows what's going on and what's happening out in the field, and he'll be talking about the construction overview. There is, again, this is an online meeting. We appreciate you working with us for this online meeting. Obviously, everyone is aware of what's going on during COVID. We're starting to break out of it, and that's good news for everyone. So there will be an opportunity. When Milwaukee, we have an open house with the city of Milwaukee for the pump station that will be located at 76th in Oklahoma. We have worked with Alderman Borkowski. Karen and I have, Karen's worked with Alderman Borkowski, and we're going to have an open house at the site and it will be in person, and everyone will be able to come out and see what we'll have displays of what's going to happen out on the site. And Alderman Borkowski, I'm sure, will be there. We'll work with him to be there, and the constituents can come out and see what's going to happen there firsthand. Unfortunately, for today's meeting, our city, we were not allowed to have an in-person meeting because of the restrictions that we have for our emergency order, but we're doing the best we can by having this online meeting. There isn't, because there's a larger audience tonight, everyone is muted, but you can submit questions at any time using the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen. And there will be a live question and answer session at the end of this. And we will try to answer any pre-submitted questions within our presentation. One other thing, if you are not able to attend, or if your neighbors were not able to attend and they had questions and they find out about it, or Alderman Borkowski, if you get questions from your constituents as to what happened at this meeting, we are recording this meeting. We will be posting this meeting hopefully by Friday online, and we will provide a link to anybody that wants to see what happened tonight, or is interested to see what was talked about tonight, and we will have a link for them that they can watch this at any time. So let's talk about the need for a reliable water supply. The city of Waukesha currently depends on the deep aquifer. And what you have here on your right-hand side is a large chunk of the earth that was pulled out. Lake Michigan would be on the far right, and the city of Milwaukee is obviously next to Lake Michigan, and then further west would be the city of Waukesha. Underneath the big chunk of earth, there is a red layer that you can see there, the Macokota Shale confining layer. And we get our water from about 2,200 feet deep in the aquifer. Most of the communities in southeastern Wisconsin have used this aquifer at one point or another in their existence. But we get our water from that deep aquifer in the underneath the earth. That red shale layer prevents water from naturally percolating or working its way through the soil to getting down to the deep aquifer to recharge the deep aquifer. So what happens there then is you end up with a drawdown and a cone of depression in that deep aquifer. The groundwater underneath Waukesha is down more than 350 feet, and we are in a groundwater management area as defined by the state of Wisconsin. So we have to do something different with our water. And what we needed to do was we needed to figure out a way that we could have a good water supply that would allow us to meet the water quality standards, because the current water that we get from the deep aquifer exceeds the levels of radium, that exceeds the limits for the levels of radium in the water. So we needed to do something to address that. And we also needed to protect the wetlands, rivers, and streams, because if we continue to utilize the deep aquifer, there would be continued drawdown. If we utilize the shallow aquifer, because of the shallowness, there would be an impact on the wetlands, rivers, and streams in the local area. So what did we do? The city of Waukesha researched over 20 years and looked at more than 14 different alternatives. Completed an environmental impact statement with the State Department of Natural Resources, and we came to the conclusion that the only reasonable water supply for the city of Waukesha was a Great Lakes or Lake Michigan alternative. It is an alternative that is sustainable for the future. It is also protective of the environment, and it is the best solution for all of the ratepayers, both in Milwaukee, in the city of Milwaukee, and in the city of Waukesha. So how did we get there? Well, the first phase, as I said, was to work through an environmental impact statement. We worked with the Department of Natural Resources to analyze all of the alternatives, and look at in depth, look at all of those alternatives. And this took about 5 years. There were 23 additional technical memoranda, and actually this document is over 3,000 pages in length. So we worked with the DNR to get approval. Once the DNR approved it, they told the Great Lakes Compact that they believed that we had an approvable diversion application. Because the city of Waukesha sits outside of the Great Lakes Basin, the natural drainage for the Great Lakes Basin. So when rain falls, if it flows into Lake Michigan, that would be the surface water area for Lake Michigan, and if it flows to the west to the Mississippi, that would be the Mississippi River Basin. So since we were completely outside of the Lake Michigan drainage basin, we needed to get unanimous approval from the Great Lakes Compact Council. So we worked, the DNR submitted the application and submitted our environmental impact statement. We worked through about a 6-month process with the Great Lakes Compact Council, which includes a representative of all of the Great Lakes states and the 2 Canadian provinces. They provided a couple of them provided technical reviews of our application. All of them submitted questions, and the application was scrutinized by the 7 other Great Lakes states outside of the state of Wisconsin, and then the 2 provinces. On June 21st of 2016, of 5 years ago yesterday, they gave us approval to receive Great Lakes water from Lake Michigan. So then we needed to negotiate a deal with a provider to provide that water to us. Excuse me. So originally in our application, we had gone with another provider of water, And after the application was approved, the city of Milwaukee approached us once again to ask us if they could provide us with a um, uh, proposal to provide service for the residents of the city of Waukesha. This is good for both cities because it provides millions of dollars of new revenue that will benefit Milwaukee water customers, in addition to a one-time payment that was made to the city of Milwaukee. But it also provides residents with the city of Milwaukee or city of Waukesha with a clean water supply. Ultimately, we were able to negotiate and establish a good it was a good reflection of this area and a good example of regional cooperation. Waukesha and the city of Milwaukee came together, were able to reach an agreement, and we are now going to be getting water from this, purchasing that water from the city of Milwaukee. So now once we have the water provider, now we needed to do all the engineering and design work and permitting for the infrastructure that will need to go on the ground. So we worked with Greeley and Hansen to complete all of the engineering. We did route studies. We looked at all the permits we needed to get, and all of the engineering was done for the pipeline that will bring the water to the city of Waukesha and then return that water to the Root River. Once we got through that component, then we had to figure out, okay, how is a community of 72,000 people going to pay for this? Because this is a $286 million people. So we have a community of 72,000 people that needs to pay for a $286 million project. How are we going to do that? So we applied for and received a federal grant, a WIFIA grant, a Water Infrastructure Financing and Innovation Act grant that allows us to fund that over 40 years at a little over 1%. Interest rates are very good right now, but that'll save us about $1 million of what it would cost us to go to the regular market for revenue bonds. But we also are working with the state on some clean water funds, which are low interest loans that are working with us or that are available to us. So overall, it is important to note that the city of Waukesha, the residents in the city of Waukesha, are going to see their bills triple over this period. Again, they're paying about $300 a year right now, and they're going to go to over $900 a year at the end of this project. So it's an expensive endeavor, but again, we need clean water to exist as a community, and Milwaukee has been a very valuable partner under the leadership of Karen Detmer. Now we move to phase 6 where we're under construction. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Katie. And Katie will talk to you about the route and the communications you can expect from the team here in Waukesha. So Katie, it's all you.
Thank you, Dan. So thank you everyone for joining us today. I'm going to talk a little bit about both pipeline routes, both the pipeline that goes from the water supply and the return flow pipeline. And you can see both of these routes on our website at greatwateralliance.com. And you can go to the in your area section and then search for the route. So the first pipeline, I'm just going to do a high level overview of is the water supply pipeline. This is the pipeline that you'll likely see construction for in your neighborhood. It is taking water from a booster pumping station located in the vicinity of 74th and Oklahoma in Milwaukee to the booster pumping station located in the city of Waukesha. This pipeline is going to go through West Allis, the city of Greenfield, the city of New Berlin, and then also through parts of Waukesha. There's at the booster pumping station site in Waukesha. There's also some storage facilities that will be built. And then the pipeline will connect into Waukesha's distribution system. From there, the water gets used by the residents and businesses in the city of Waukesha, and it gets cleaned at the clean water plant and treated to a tertiary level. It then is pumped through the city of Waukesha, the village of Waukesha, the city of Muskego, the city of New Berlin, the city of Franklin, to the Root River, which is located in the city of Franklin. And from there, the water flows through the Root River, excuse me, back out to Lake Michigan. And that pipeline is about 23 miles. And again, both of these you can get more detail on the website, the Great Water Alliance website, looking for the route. You might be asking, why is a return flow line needed? And as Dan mentioned, this project needed a compact council approval. And because of where the city of Waukesha is situated over the subcontinental divide, it is required to use Lake Michigan water, that the volume that is used gets returned back to Lake Michigan to have a net zero impact on the lake levels. So what this actually turns out to be beneficial in a number of ways, though. Besides that net zero impact on the lake level, we're taking tertiary treatment from the clean water plant and putting it into the Root River. This is enhancing the habitat and providing flow augmentation or extra water in an area of the Root River that has a low base flow. So this is going to add about 6 inches of base flow to the Root River during normal times, which will allow fish to spawn farther upstream in the Root River, which is beneficial to their reproduction systems. So this actually is going to have a benefit, and then again, that net zero impact on the lake level. As Dan mentioned, at the middle of 2020, we started going from the permitting and design phase into the construction phase. Pipeline construction started with the return flow pipeline, and that construction began at the Waukesha's Clean Water Plant, and then has continued on through the city of Waukesha, the village of Waukesha, and into New Berlin. In 2021, we're still working in New Berlin area right now. We have had some work go into West Allis and Greenfield, and we'll start to go into the Milwaukee area later on this year, which is why we're having this open house now, so that you have access to the information. And we anticipate both sections of both the return flow pipeline and the water supply pipeline being completed in 2022. So as I mentioned, the Great Water Alliance website really is where we have a ton of information that can be useful for you as you're dealing with the inconvenience of the construction for this pipeline. One of the best spots that's going to have a lot of information is that route map. It has an interactive component to it. You're going to be able to see construction markers where there's currently construction happening. They are color coded to let you know if it's an open cut construction or trenchless construction, which I'll let Jeff explain in a little bit further detail. Also, if you pop on or click on those icons, they'll have pop-ups about the construction that's happening in that area. So that will have information about the time that it's going to be in that area, if there's a detour associated with that work, and what is occurring in the vicinity of that icon. Also, in your area section of the web page, there's a section just devoted to Milwaukee. On that tab, you can sign up for construction email updates. Those email updates happen about every week or two, and will provide information on where the work is happening, what type of detours there are associated with that, if there is any, and also, again, giving you that timing information. So if you don't want to go to the website and check every now and then, you can sign up for the construction email and just have that information delivered to your inbox. In your area section under Milwaukee, we'll also post those construction updates too. So if you don't want to go to the map, but you want to go to this section, you can find the information on the timing. And we'll also have any relevant detour maps, if there are any, in this section as well. Also, we'll post any recordings of open houses that we have. So like after, as Dan mentioned, after this open house is completed, we'll be posting the recording here. So if you need to leave early, or if you want to, somebody is asking, you want to share it with somebody else, you can direct them to this website and they can listen in on this recording. We also have a few other communication channels that are available for you to get information if you're interested in it. We have a hotline. You can see the phone number on the screen. That hotline will allow you to leave a voicemail, and then we return those voicemails within 24 hours. If you have a very specific question about construction in your area that isn't an emergency, you can reach out to us there, or even if it is an emergency, just let us know that in the voicemail and we will get back to you as soon as we can. Or if you're just curious about something, you can call that hotline too. If you're interested in just shooting us an email, maybe you have a question and you don't want to leave a message, you'd rather just shoot us an email, we have an email dedicated for this as well. We also have social media. We have Facebook, Twitter, and a YouTube channel. Through Facebook and Twitter, we usually post information about upcoming meetings, such as this open house, or if there is any other events going on with the program or big updates. The YouTube channel houses a number of educational videos about the program and what has happened and the history of this program, and also construction impacts and what to expect. So there's some educational videos there if you're interested. You can also sign up for an e-newsletter on the website, and that goes out approximately quarterly. where we'll again give updates on the program and what is happening and things that you can expect. And then we will use direct mail on occasion. You likely received a mailer for this open house if you live along the route, so we will use that on occasion to try and get information out to you as well. And we'll also hold open houses when there's something that warrants having everyone get together and us to provide you more information. For communication that is more specific to the construction, we will also be using door hangers on your front door. We aren't allowed to go around to a side door or put anything in a mailbox. So if you have a front door you don't use very often, you're going to want to check it every once in a while as the construction is starting to get into your area. We'll also have signage up, automated signs and other construction signs to let you know, indicate where detours are or if a lane is closed or if something like that is happening. There'll be signage appropriate for that type of work. And there'll also be inspectors out on site. And you can see the logo on the back of this inspector vest. That's the Great Water Alliance logo. And if there is something that's happening, like let's say you do have something right in front of your house, you notice something that you want to understand what's happening, or you're concerned that your driveway isn't going to be open, or you need access to your home during a certain hour of that day, you're going to want to, you can give us a call on the hotline, or you can find the inspector with the Great Water Alliance vest on near the construction and talk to them about what your needs are. And we'll be able to get a hold of us and get you coordinated with whatever access you need or any other requests that you might have that we can help you with. Safety is also very, very important to us on this project. So we do ask that you watch for the signs and barrels and that you obey them, that you obey flagging operations. If you are in the vicinity of the construction and you want to just watch or you have any questions, you find the person in the Great Water Alliance vest and they can help you find a safe spot to watch from, or they can answer questions that you may have. We ask that you not approach equipment or the construction without talking to that person in the inspector vest, just to make sure that you are safe, the workers are safe, that their work can progress, and that we can keep moving and get out of the way as quick as possible. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Jeff, the construction manager, to just talk through a little bit more detail of the construction and what to expect.
Thank you, Katie. What I'm going to cover today is just the brief overview of the construction and routes and what to expect during construction, just so there aren't any surprises. The construction route in general goes from I-41 all the way to 76th Street, and we do cross the Honey Creek drainage ditch there just east of 76th Street, where the supply pump station will be built. The Milwaukee Road impacts. Next slide. In general, the water supply pipeline runs along the south side of West Oklahoma from 100th Street to approximately 80th Street. There at 80th Street, then we do cross over and run more towards the center of the road near the median from 80th to 76th Street. A couple of locations where we will be working, just shows you highlighted intersections where some of the activities will be taking place, and some specifics where special attention will be used for specific types of construction, which I'll discuss here in a moment. At Oklahoma, looking east towards 76th Street, this is the location where Katie mentioned where the pump station will be located. That pump station project will be addressed during another open house session that'll be hosted by Milwaukee Waterworks. The contractor that we have for the job is Super Excavators. Super Excavators did go through a rigorous pre-qualification process along with competitive bidding and was determined to be the lowest responsible bidder for the job. They were awarded the job, and we've determined that they are qualified, as their skill set includes sewer and water main installation, force main and pipeline installation, horizontal directional drilling and earthwork, so forth. So that they are well qualified to be performing this work, and they've done work in the area in the past. So they're familiar with traffic patterns and requirements and so forth and so on. Some of the special technologies that are being used for this project is trenchless technologies. You will hear some of the keywords like jack and bore or horizontal directional drilling or trenchless technologies as a general topic. In general, horizontal directional drilling through some of the sensitive intersections that we highlighted earlier here will be done mainly to keep traffic moving, flow through intersections, sensitive areas, through and around sensitive utilities and so forth. During trenchless technologies, it may appear that work is moving slowly. Some of these crossings may take 4, 6, up to maybe 8 weeks, depending on the length and the complexity of the crossing. So be aware that we may be staged in one area for a duration of period, but also be aware that we are trying to move in the most efficient and productive manner that we can. Like Katie said, there's a lot of activity around these work zones. So just be aware that safety is priority for the general public. And if you're interested, please feel free to contact one of us, and we'd be more than happy to answer any questions. Notification processes. Katie did touch on this a little bit earlier. The door hangers that will be distributed during construction, we do, like Katie said, we need to put those in a visible legal location. They cannot be placed in mailboxes, side doors, back doors, or hung on like fences. They do need to be on a main door in a visible location. So if that's a door that you don't use very often, maybe while construction is near your area, you pay closer attention to that particular door, just so you're getting the notifications appropriately. Notifications are handed out on specific timeframes, 14 days prior to any street closures or when the contractor is approaching an area. They will, 14 days in advance of getting into that area, start distributing these notifications. They have general information, who to contact, what to expect, and the type of work that's going to be happening in the area. 3 days prior to any restricted property access or any other restrictions for service impacts or anything that is planned, you'll get another notification that gives you some more general information about that restriction. And then one day prior to the specific outage or the restriction, you'll get a third notification that gives you more detailed information and detailed timing on what to expect there. And with that, we will turn this back over to any questions and answers if you have any.
Well, thank you, Jeff, and thank you to Dan and Katie. I also want to thank everyone for joining us tonight at this virtual open house presented by the Great Water Alliance. I'm Karen Detmer, the Superintendent of Milwaukee Waterworks, your drinking water utility. And tonight, of course, you heard about the construction in Milwaukee that you will see later this summer for a water main. But later, we will have an open house, and I'm so happy to say we will have that open house on site in person at 75th in Oklahoma, the location of the pumping station. So really excited that we'll be able to offer that opportunity to get more discussion, more input, more feedback, and provide more information to you all in person later this summer. So watch out for that notification. And I'd also like to thank Alderman Mark Barkowski for joining us tonight. Please feel free and feel welcome to reach out to the project team. As mentioned, every step of the way throughout this presentation, we want to hear from you. We want to make sure that we're answering your questions. We know that construction is difficult, and we are so grateful for your patience while this construction moves through the area. So with that, I will pass it over to Katie to lead us through any questions that we have in the chat, or to provide some FAQs on the construction area.
Thank you, Karen. So as a reminder, if you move your mouse, you should be able to see a Q&A box at the bottom of the screen and enter any questions that you might have. Just to get us started, as I'm not seeing too many questions come through, we'll answer a couple that may come up. Sometimes we get the question about whether or not you're going to have access during construction, and we touched on it, but we will make sure that we're communicating with you and all the businesses along this route as well in advance of any access impacts. And we'll be making sure to keep access maintained to the businesses, and we will maintain that access at all times. We'll also work on communicating if there's going to be any parking that will be closed and the duration and extent of that impact as well. And that's the type of information that you'll be able to find on the interactive route map if you have any questions or concerns about the construction in your area. Also, there can be questions about where the detour routes are. For this area of the project along Oklahoma, we're going to be working to have a lane of traffic in each direction maintained at all times. Likely there'll be more than that, but you won't have to go to a different street if you don't want to. You just will have some impact to the amount of lanes open while the construction is going on. I'll just double check. And also, there can be questions about the noise level. If we didn't touch on that, then there can be some noise from the construction crews and the equipment, but we're going to try and minimize that noise whenever possible. And the contractor is required to meet all noise ordinances for the construction activity. And this is related to the hours of construction, if you're wondering about that as well. Hours of construction will mostly be limited to 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Monday through Friday. On occasion, we might work on a Saturday or work at night if we believe that there's a benefit to the community to have less impact by doing that work in the evening or through a weekend to get out of the area more quickly. And also, just to make sure it's crystal clear, I know Jeff mentioned it, but we will be restoring the road when the construction is complete as well. With a pipeline of this length, it can sometimes seem like the construction is complete, but we might be doing some testing of the pipe underground. So it will get restored. We are going to be making sure that that happens, and we'll have timing on that in the construction email updates and also on the website as well as that's moving forward. Okay, I double checked.
Katie, I just wanted to touch real quick on access real quick again. Again, through the main arterials like 76th Street or major arterials, Highway 100, we'll be boring, or as Jeff mentioned, we'll be jacking and boring or using some of those underground techniques so that we do not have to close those areas. If you do have a driveway that is along Oklahoma Avenue or your street turns into off of Oklahoma Avenue, we'll make sure that there is access to those streets or the street before or after to make sure you always have access to get into your house or into your driveway. Just want to make sure, because we get a lot of questions about access in people's driveways or access to streets where they can get into their homes. And I just wanted to make sure that people understood that that's how that'll work.
Okay. We'll give everybody one last chance to put in a question if you have any. Otherwise, Dan, if you want to give a reminder about how people can reach out to us.
Okay, well, again, first off, I want to thank Alderman Borkowski for taking the time out and work with us on this open house tonight. We really appreciate his efforts on behalf of his constituents in the city of Milwaukee. Also, thanks to Karen and her team for their work with us on this job. We would not be where we are today without her and her team and the great work that she does for the city of Milwaukee and their waterworks. And again, we'll be getting water from you shortly, hopefully within a few years. But for the constituents that are out there, if you need to contact us, once again, call our hotline 262-409-4444. You can leave a message. We work to get back to those as soon as possible. In most cases, it's within 24 hours, and even shorter. You can send us an email at info@greatwateralliance.com. You can visit our website, greatwateralliance.com. If you're one of the social media people out there, we have Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube available. You can go on those social media platforms and you can definitely get into contact with us through those. Again, we view the success of this program will rely on our communication with the constituents that are along the route and working closely with the city of Milwaukee and the Alderman Borkowski in this case, who represents the area. So we're going to work our hardest to make sure that you're informed on the project and make sure you understand what's happening in your area. And again, if you have any questions, you know how to reach us. Karen, thank you very much for attending tonight. Alderman Borkowski, thank you also. And if there are no other questions, then we will call this a wrap. Thank you, everyone.
All right. Good night.
Thank you.